So this is the test file I'm going to use in this video to now show you the simplest way, apart from using color range, and I'll show some more of that in another video, like a part 3 about making custom color selections or hue-based color selections. This is continuing from the previous video, basically. This technique is pretty fascinating, and it's so simple in how it works. So first I'm just going to create a solid color fill layer. Let's just do red, okay? We'll call this the custom color set, or just custom color layer. So this is what I'm going to set to any color that I want, okay? And if I have that off, I can actually click in here. So I turn the view off. I can click in here and select any color I want, right? Let's just start with red. There's a blending mode in all the blending modes that works where a lot of times, and I'm first going to show it where you have two different kind of layers, right? Let's say I've just got an image, and this image on top of the other image. Let's say I go and set it to difference. A lot of times this is what I saw in the past. I've been using Photoshop for over 20 years, so even when I was younger, you'd play around with the blend modes, right? We'd go through, we'd just play around with them. Difference, okay, looks really cool, right? It's got all these wild colors throughout it, okay? But there's a different way, no pun intended, to use the difference blending mode. If I have an entire color on one layer, and I set that layer over this or over any image, set this to difference, we notice something starts to happen. There's black. And there's black over this where it was red. Let me turn off the pixel grid. Okay, so why is it doing that? Because the red is no different in the first layer than it is from the second layer. And what is difference? It's really just a mathematical operation, subtraction. It's really just the difference, okay? What is different between this red layer and the layer below. And so it's actually going to make white wherever something is the most different, and cyan is as different as you can get from red. It is the opposite hue from red. So it's completely different. White is actually not as different, so white becomes a cyan. So then the thing is, it still looks tricky. It still looks like it's got all these multiple colors. How is this very useful? Well, we know from some of the other videos and some of this other color information, if I go ahead and put a black and white layer and then set this to maximum white, or really move that so it's custom. Okay. I'll set this to force other colors to white. You'll notice we've extracted a color mask of the red just with one layer, and then using the maximum white to just force all those. And you can essentially still change this. I could change to decrease only certain colors or others, right? But we're not going to look at that right now. We're just basically using a black and white to force all that other hue information. And if people want to look at it like a mask, you'd maybe put the invert on here, right? So now I can go to this layer and change it to any color. Okay, and I'm literally, and this is pretty cool stuff too artistically with this image, but I'm literally, so let's say I select the white. Okay, I've easily extracted the whiteness from the image. Let's say I select the black, easily extracted the blackness. Let's say I do the gray. Okay, I'm getting the gray mask. Let me go ahead and take the invert off, so maybe it looks like color separation, or a positive rather than a negative. So same thing, I can look at the red tints, the red shades, the gray, okay, the black, the white, and obviously you can put levels on here and do whatever you want with it. This to me is the real foundation of seeing color in a different way, understanding how you can make color masks directly within Photoshop with just a few default techniques. And look, I can change the hue around, selecting the different hues. Okay. If I want to turn this off and select in the image somewhere first, like let's say that 10 degrees mid-tone, turn those back on. I've now extracted the 10 degree mid-tone. Okay, and you'll notice it's selecting gray, and that's just one of the drawbacks of the difference method mode. So it's not extracting a perfect mask. Okay, it's not taking this and giving you what you'd get with some of the other techniques, right? If I extract this, you'll see it's kind of seeing the gray as being 50% different from the red. And truly, that's what the math says. The math says that honestly, gray is only half as different from red as cyan. And that's because if you were to blend red to cyan, this is kind of a separate thing we'll maybe talk about in another video. But if I were to create a gradient and blend it from red to cyan, 180, you get gray. Anytime you blend complementary hues, so things that are completely opposite, and this is in the digital world, not in paint, because paint made of pigments, they are not pure hues. Usually they're not, they have a lot of other properties in how they mix, right? So we're talking about digital light or digital color. When you have the opposite hues mixing, you get perfect gray in between. It looks like it's a reddish gray on one side, a bluish gray on the other. If you truly get into the absolute middle of them, it is just a gray. I don't know if there is a middle created by this gradient mask. It depends exactly. I'm still on the cyan side. We'll see. Right there. See that? So this middle one right here is just gray. It's not a red gray or a cyan gray. So complementary hues, and that's the thing about the difference blending mode, is that it kind of sees gray as being half different from the pure hues. That's opposed to looking at it through the selective color or the color range method like I showed in the previous video. If we do the selective color and we have the reds, we'll make those black, we'll make the yellows, and I'm moving the black slider in absolute mode, -100, -100 on the green, -100 on the cyan, -100 on the blue, -100 on the magenta, and then do the same for the whites, the neutrals, and the black. Okay, so this is different than, this is extracting just the red and saying, okay, even the gray and the white and black are not going to be included in the red hue mask. So the hue masks are not the same as using this difference technique. But the difference technique lets you literally target any custom color, and then maybe the mask that you select is going to be close to what you wanted. Let's do like this tinted gold yellow. Turn that on. Turn the force other colors to white. We'll call this invert for mask. And if I want to, just go ahead and do a levels. Okay. So you can see I've selected, but what we're getting is that all of these other tints are showing up as similar to that, right? Turn this on. Let's turn off the invert. Oh, yeah, it's because I was changing it the wrong direction with the invert on, right? So you'll see where it targeted the selection. So this doesn't work the same as the HCWB color range, but this is the beginning, or it's the foundation of making those other more advanced color range selections. Doesn't work the same as color range, doesn't work the same as using the selective color. But let's see, let's take that on there, force other colors to white. I'm not going to invert the mask. I like to look at these things more like a positive rather than a negative. Go to here. And there you see I'm kind of targeting in to just that range of colors, right? And the darkest one was where I had selected it. Okay. It must have been this pixel was the one I selected, right? Yeah. Okay, so the darkest pixel here, or if I did it the other direction, I would have to have the invert on and like a mask. It would be the whitest pixel. Okay, so you see it literally targeted right on that area, but the difference tends to see too much stuff as being slightly different. So, it's a very tight selection. If I were to go and do the color range, let's see, color range, and we want to click the same color. Let me just set this color. Let me set the foreground to this color. That way I can target it with the color range. Select color range. Sampled colors, this color. I'll take the fuzziness down, and it gets, let's go ahead and make new white. I could just make a new with black, the same thing as filling and then filling behind. Merge the two together. Okay, you'll see that it's not the same, it doesn't give you the same result. It's literally just different. Sometimes it's better or worse, depends on really what color you're targeting and how you're getting into it, right? So the color range, as I brought it down, is still seeing a few other hues. It's still seeing actually a lot more of what are the tints of that compared to this one. And really one of the key ways to look at it is what is color range capable in the largest selection. So let's do color range on here with the fuzziness all the way up. Let's go ahead and make a new layer. Same way, if I just do Shift F5, fill with white, normal, deselect, Shift F5, fill with black behind it. Okay, that's the full capability with this color of what color range can get. Let's not have levels on. Let's look at this custom color in difference blending mode. Force other colors to white. Don't invert the mask, or no, we will invert the mask, so we're looking at it the same way. Go to new, Control Alt Shift E to merge. So this is difference color extraction, and this is color range color extraction. Okay, and so we can see that color range, even in its maximum capability with this particular color, I guess it's not getting as much stuff. It's a different kind of gradient, and this one is really capturing a lot of stuff to work with. So if I do the same levels adjustment, okay, let's go ahead and bring that down a little. Let's see what that same levels adjustment looks like on the other one, right? So I don't know, it depends on your particular use or in your image that you're actually getting things from. But let's go ahead and look at that now with the difference thing. And this is the file that I'm going to upload onto PayHip that lets you set the color to anything and, have it invert for a mask or not, right? Let's look at it with a test image. And I may build in levels. Total levels control. And curves. Total mask curves control. I don't need to say mask really. All right, let's go to a test image, see what we get. So all you'd have to do, opening up this file that you may download for free, you could just take these layers, drag them in, and because it's a color layer, it doesn't have any bounds. It's going to fill up the entire canvas. And I'll probably have it preset to a red by default or a black by default. And again, you can kind of shift through the different luminosities, shift the black or select the black or the white. And this is as a mask. Sometimes let's look at it without the mask. So this is literally the blackness of the image. Okay. Let me turn off the layers so I can see what color I'm targeting. Double click the custom color layer. And let's just target this lake color. turn that on, turn this on. Invert for mask if I want to look at it as a mask. Let's look at the levels control. Oops, other way. So I'm going to target right in on that. Okay. So you see what I'm saying? It's kind of picking up some of the gray as well. So for me, that is one of the drawbacks of the difference technique, but it leads to some of the discoveries I made in combining this technique with extracting the chroma, the white, the black, the tints, the shades, the grays, the tones, and then you're targeting into the color you want within those masks, combining the masks together with other blending modes. It gets a little complicated, but I just want to teach all this stuff and share what I've learned, show how I approach color masking and color extractions from an image in a lot of different ways. It depends on usually the image you're looking at. But there's some advanced ways to get into this stuff that doesn't work the same as color range. Again, color range may be good. Let's open up color range, select this. You see easily this is just selecting all of that area without much trouble because it's mostly all the same hue, right? I didn't even have to do the local adjustment. And we've got that as a color layer. We can just change that around. Sometimes you'll use it and just say color, so it keeps some of the blends in there. Okay, and that really only works, it's like kind of like brighter or darker based on what you select. Doesn't really make it lighter or darker, just more or less saturation when it's in the color blending mode. Okay, but we could have this on. Let's look at it as a mask. Levels control, curves control. You see what I'm saying? If I go too far, it's eliminating that gray. That's like the gray outline around the clouds, but it's going to start to affect it's going to bring some noise into that, right? But, let's say we brought it down that much and then change this around. Really, we won't tell what colors we're getting into of the image, but you can see I can kind of select in all the gray ranges of the image, maybe turn those levels back up and look at it. Okay, it's just a different way to look at selecting a mask from an image. Maybe I'll turn those off again and double click, target a specific color, like maybe this darker green stuff. It's actually looks green, but it's mostly shades of brown, shades of yellow. Let's turn that on, this, invert for mask, go to the levels. Okay, fun stuff. Just wanted to teach you guys about the difference blending mode, how simple it really is mathematically, just taking the whole layer of color and showing what's different from that color, how different it is from the original image, and that essentially leads to making masks. In the following videos, I'm going to get into the HCWB Custom Color Range because I'm making an update to it, and in the update I may actually start to expand into the tints, shades, grays, and midtones as well. But I want to teach, based on this method, how I use the difference blending in combination with extracting the other masks first, and then recombining them to get to some of this cool multi-dimensional control of a color mask, where you can have sliders for the hue, the chroma, the white, and black. Now, in my opinion, you can get into stuff where even with those sliders, it's looking at the tints and shades the same way. Maybe I'll go to that other test, the first one I had. What was it here? Let me just open recent. Where is it? Hexagon test. No, I never duplicated this and saved it. Could have lost my work there. I'll end up saving it. I'm sure I'll save it after I close the video and it'll crash. So anyway, let's go ahead and revert this back to that original and flatten. I just want to show why I'm making some updates and why I'm trying to expand the capabilities of this custom color range selector action. And let's open up the original one, not the update. So let's say I was targeting, I'll just target the mid-tone to show you. Yeah, I think it'll make sense. Maybe like somewhere in this tint region. That's as the foreground color. Now I can press play on this, and it's in 16-bit on a large image. It may run slightly slower than when it's a smaller image or 8-bit, but again, these actions are just creating a bunch of layers. I'll explain it in the next video where I start to get into how I've created this and how I'm going to update and expand it into the other color masks. But basically, it uses that difference blending technique on those various color masks. So now I'm going to go in and, I could recolor this. It's just overlaying the area that it created, the mask. Let's go and make adjustments, and I can look at it in minimum range. And again, these are the blend modes of the various masks. So medium range blends them so they blend together more. They don't reduce each other as much. Maximum range, etc. But even in the maximum range and turning on the adjustment layers, filtering them with the layer filter view, using, let's say, the blackness levels. Okay, I can sort of reduce, but look at what's happening. As I go and reduce this, it's taking the blackness out, but it's also reducing the other side, okay, the tintness, you'd call it. Let's go ahead and look at the whiteness. Okay, see how that's reducing it in that direction, but it's doing both directions. So it's reducing where the whiteness is, but also the shadeness. Okay, the hue thing won't matter on this. The chroma, though. Let's look at the chroma. So that's going in this direction right here between the chroma and the gray. But you see what it's doing is cutting into where the midtones are, but it's also cutting out the grayness as well as the chroma. So yes, you can use these to target in specifically to that color, right? But it's removed, as I've gone and removed all that, it's removed the tintness from here and the midtoneness, I guess you'd call it. I feel that if I go in and start adding more of the masks, extractions, and basically make an HCWB TSGM color range tool, I may be able to have an independent control for whether I want to extract some of the tintness out or maybe keep the tintness in. Maybe the color that I wanted to get was, yes, it was these colors, but I want to keep these ones in the mask as well, right? Just kind of have the tint range. Okay, so I'll save that for the next video, but I wanted to show you guys mostly just how cool that difference blending mode is and how it's mathematically doing exactly what it says to extract any color from an original image as a mask. Okay, thanks for watching and stay tuned for more Max Chroma.